1 second here. Just let me fix something for you. I am a solo act today, which is always questionable around here, but I think that we're good. I think we're good to go. All right. So Julie's not here today, so I am, as I said, I'm solo on this thing. She took Connor off to school, so hopefully everybody can hear me, can see me. If you want to see me, if you don't want to see me, look at something else. But okay, so Qs are trading nicely today. They've been in a box all day. Everything's been going really well. We had good trades in the first hour trading pit, so I got impatient on one of them. So on CTSH, I think it was, I canceled my order because I just got sick of sitting there waiting for it. Effectively, I got triggered in and then closed it out exactly at the entry price, and then it went to the target, of course. So that stuff doesn't just happen to you, it happens to me. So it happens to everybody, right? So these things are the things that we have to fight in our own psychology each and every trading day. We did have a really good trade in SYNA. So that one, it went and it put in what was looking to be sort of shallow bars around the open. And I think a couple people just sort of skipped over it because the range on it didn't look that good. It actually was a good range. So it's always important to check the distance between what would be your entry price and what would be your logical profit objective, given what's on the chart in front of you. So that's just a heads up, always go back and look and try not to be impatient on the trades because they usually wind up, once you're in that 95% confidence interval, they usually wind up reverting to the mean, especially when they don't really go any higher. So again, CTSH, broke the rules, back to school, right? Trip to the woodshed for Adrian. If you stuck with it and you managed to get out of the profit, that's good. You followed the discipline. If you got impatient, well, join the club. So the other thing that we had today was a fastball XRV that went to the target. So we had two on the XRV trading plan, and one of those triggered us in, got us straight up to that profit objective. So long side entry on a big down day does not spook me on XRV. And speaking of XRV, if you are on that trading plan, right, it's that baby averages about 100 points a year, $100 a year per share traded. Some of you say it's hard to load those up in the morning because the way your systems handle bracket orders. I just need to tell you that it is possible to auto trade those now. The auto trading program for those is in place and it's functional with Trading Block. So if you're interested in that kind of a thing at all, then shoot me an email or send me a text, 310-804-2248, 310-804-2248, and I can get you connected with them, and they can they can tell you what it takes to just set up to auto trade that, and coming in the near future, auto trade the Qs. So my Q strategy will also be available as an auto trade. So with all that stuff being said, let's take a look at what's going on with the triple Qs and what the game plan is going into the rest of the day. So let's go to the charts and see what's going on here. So you're looking at it, and this is what I've been focusing my attention on this morning is, of course, we had this move yesterday into this morning, this big persistent move lower. You'll remember yesterday I told you that I thought we were going to have those big sort of 1, 2, 3 swings after the Fed announcement, and I'm not blowing any horns here, but you're pretty much looking at what I was talking about, right? That you get that ricochet move right after an announcement, and then when it does pick a direction, what it tends to do is go and follow through into prior support and resistance. That's exactly what it did yesterday. Went right down to that node that we were talking about, went right down where we thought it was going to go. I stayed loose. I stayed away from it because Fed announcements are, as you guys who know me, they're just not my thing. Right, so I don't like trading ahead of the Fed. I don't like trading post-Fed. I just like to trade sort of in normal market environments. And that is pretty much where we are today. This morning, some of the guys I'm working with, I gave them this level right here, 316.65. And that 316.65 node, what we were looking for was a move back down from here, just down to that VWAP. So it doesn't look like much, but it winds up being about 60 cents per share. And it represented a good opportunity, and once again, right, it's the best opportunity on these things is, you know, once, twice, and let it go the third time. So after the second attempt, what tends to happen is, you know, we get through the overhead volume. So we start chewing through this, and this is why in real tick what you'll see happen is as the day moves on, depending on the time compression and look back period that you have on your charts, what you're going to see are these dropouts. And that's because when you do a cluster analysis like this one, what happens is it goes and it weights the importance of what's happening at this point in time compared to what happened previously. So as price goes and tries to break through here over and over again, eventually when it chews through, what you'll see is that at that time you have one of these voids, right, where you have a sort of a blank space in your VBP action. Right now we're seeing clusters of volume build again. We just took one on the short side right here at 316.65. Depending on where you had your stop, that one popped you in and popped you right back out again. I didn't want to leave this really wide, so I was, you know, setting a stop above these two bars back here. So it was just a 25-cent adverse move, got me out of the trade, because what I'm looking to see is those first tests of a volume by price node and, you know, a mean reversion here. So when we had the move that came back from here up to 316.65, what I was looking at was the fact that, you know, we were moving from 2 standard deviations out up into the average price, up into the 14-period average of all those closes before there. And if it wasn't going to move in my favor right away, I was just going to bail on the trade. Then we also had a nice trade from higher up this morning. This one was on this move up into 317.50 and gave us the move all the way back down into 316.65. That one is on a reset for me. So if we get a move back up into here, I'm going to take that. That's going to be a second entry as far as I'm concerned, because we only had one test there. And I think it's a really good level in large part because of this stuff right here. So that threshold level there is dense. We've got 5 volume clusters that are still present right there. And what that really tells me is it's going to have a hard time, you know, if it gets up to here, it's going to have a hard time chewing through it, because it's going to have to get through this one, this one, this one, and this one. Whereas some of these other tests, if price were to get back up into this level, then we would maybe question a little bit, since that cluster is only represented by one bar. If it gets here, is it really going to go and test the pivot? Is that the next move up? So I wouldn't short from the single bar there, but I would definitely be looking at this higher level short up at 317.50, again with a target down around 316.65. Other than that, going to look at what this thing does in the box here going forward. And it might be the case that we have to lower our 7 spot 17 threshold level here into these highs of these bars right here as the day progresses. And so let's just see what kind of tests we get there, and watch for this channel to narrow, and then look for the confluence of the upper 2 standard deviation band and this threshold level of highs here. Okay, so that is right now pretty much the strategy. I guess what we could do yet is add an anchored VWAP here. So we don't really have a big trend move happening yet. So when you anchor these things, right, these are from, you know, back when I was still given real tick ideas. So the way that this anchored VWAP works a little bit different. So the session VWAP is up in the upper box here, right? So the session VWAP is this guy. And that's the way that most anchored VWAPs display. So usually what happens is, you know, if you anchor your VWAP here and here, or here and here, then what it does is it'll draw us like a sloped line in there. And when we set this up, we were looking more for hard levels of support and resistance. So now that we have this new one drawn here, right, now that that guy's in place, if we get up into 317.50, that move down is going to gravitate to that volume weighted average price, to that anchored VWAP. And if you look at the anchor and you look at the session VWAP, then what you should notice is, the session VWAP is even a little bit lower than the anchor is. And if you look at what's going on with price, then again, what you see is we're sort of oscillating around the session VWAP, and that says that we're neither being pushed and pulled by the bulls or the bears. So at this point in time, if we start seeing a move in the Qs, that maybe continues this thing here and winds up around the pivot line somewhere where we go net positive on the day, net positive on the session, then we might want to start looking for pullbacks that extend this thing to the long side. I think it's doubtful, given that we've got Apple earnings today and that we have all this mayhem with the banks, but let's see what happens over the course of the rest of the session. So you can see here it's coming in and it's retesting this threshold area. And if you're watching it, a little add-on here for today, what you should pay attention to is that this level here, although it's support and resistance from earlier in the session and from late in yesterday's session, we haven't really had a test there today, not a significant test. And the last time that it did test, this happened. So I'm still waiting, and I'm going to look for that 317.50 area to get hit before I consider taking the short side on this trade. So that's it. That is, that's Adrian's strategy for the day, for better or for worse. I hope it helps. And you guys who are new, remember, it's fair game. You can shoot me a text, 310-804-2248, if you want to go over something or if you want to review some of this stuff. I'm happy to set up a call. You just have to text me first so that I can make time in my day to get the call arranged. You can also email me, adrian@traderinsight.com. All right. I hope you have a great rest of your trading day, and thanks for taking the time to join us here this morning. All right. Take care.